Okay, welcome to the final lesson, Analyzing Social Media Profiles and Building Out Networks. In this lesson, we're really going to start asking, how can we find other accounts associated with the account that we're looking for? And we're going to be largely using outside tools to do it. So some of the questions that we want to ask and that we want to frame our investigation around is, if we're dealing with a fake account, can we find others like it? But if we're dealing with a real person, who are their friends and their frequent contacts? What are their most frequent interactions is like, and who's engaging with these posts? And what type of content is the account posting? What do we know about where that content came from? Each platform will give you different information and combine the data, and you can combine the data for better understanding. One important caveat is that we're going to be dealing mostly with friends lists and follower lists. There is no easy way to download those friends lists on Facebook like there is with Instagram or Twitter. So we will be focusing on Instagram and Twitter mostly. However, with the data that you get from Instagram and from Twitter, you can then use the techniques that I've already shown you for Facebook to better understand how accounts are related to one another and how that content jives together. So let's get started. As I said, Twitter is one of our best starting points. A Twitter account will give us plenty of data, and that data is almost always public. Because Twitter is such a public-facing platform, it is one of the best places to start our investigations. So when we look at a tweet, there's a lot of information that we can get out of that tweet. So on the left, it's important to think through, okay, we can get the name of the profile as well as the username. We can get the profile picture that we can then reverse image search, which I will take up during week 3. We, of course, get the text of the tweet, but we also get the content. In this case, it's a video. We get the date on which it's posted. Just be aware that that date is adjusted to your own time zone. So just don't get caught in confusion there. You also get where it was posted from, which can be pretty helpful. If an account is posting from a lot of different sources, you might start asking whether that account is being run by one person or several people. And of course, you get the data on how many people engaged with this tweet. On the profile itself, you get the followers and following, the amount of tweets this person has sent, any links that they provide, as well as when that account was created. So a really good rule of thumb is the more recent the account is, the more suspicious it is, the more we should be looking into it. However, people do still purchase existing accounts or take over accounts or hack accounts. So the account create date is not the only indicator that we can be looking at here in terms of account authenticity. So let's look at Women for America First. This is a lobby group as well as a pro-Trump promotion group in the US. So let's use America First Women, the username, to see what we can get out of this account to better understand what we should be looking at further. Twitonomy is one of the best tools that we have for this because it also allows us to download all of the information that it gives us. So it gives us tweets within a certain time period. So this will not give you all tweets, and there are limitations on it, so be aware of that. But it also gives you the amount of tweets per day. Tweets per day is a really important indicator of whether an account is authentic or not, because if somebody is sending 300 tweets a day, you might start getting suspicious about that account's authenticity. You also get to see the tweet history, how frequently they tweet. And for me, one of the most useful panels here is the user side. So users most retweeted gives us an idea of who's associated with the organization or who supports the organization frequently, and vice versa. Users most replied to, the same thing, and users most mentioned as well. If you're going to be mentioning somebody, you're likely interacting with them on a pretty genuine scale. So sometimes it's to amplify somebody in your organization. Sometimes it's to get into an argument. So all of these aggregated accounts are incredibly useful. And using these accounts, we can start asking, okay, what is this account doing on other platforms? Is it interacting with the same people on other platforms? Does it have the same friends on other platforms? So pay close attention to this panel. As well, like I mentioned, it's quite important to understand when an account is sending tweets. And whether that makes sense for the time zone that the account claims to be in. So here we see a pretty natural tweet pattern. They do tweet in the middle of the night quite a bit, but they do take breaks as well. Between 4 a.m. and 1 p.m., they don't usually tweet as much. So that tells us that they might be, that tells us which time zone they might be in, as well as how active they are. And if we see that an account is tweeting 24/7 nonstop at all hours of the day and night, again, that is where we might get suspicious. We see here that most tweets are sent from either Twitter for iPhone, Facebook, the web app, or Periscope. This is a really good sign that this is a genuine account, because if an account is sending tweets from both iPhone and Android, from a few different apps, then we can start asking, okay, is one person running this account or several people running this account? So again, this is information that we get in aggregate that we would not have gotten out of that profile by just looking at it. So incredibly useful tool. Another absolutely fantastic tool to extract information out of a Twitter profile is called Tweetbeaver. And what it does is it allows you to look at almost all data from an account with the limitations of on large accounts. So let's plug in America First and get their friends list. Now, this is limited to 10,000 Twitter friends per request. So be sure that you're aware of that limitation. If you're looking at an account that follows 30,000 people, you're only going to get the first 10,000. But what this will do is it will generate both an Excel spreadsheet, a CSV, and give you a list of the accounts that this account is following. Crucially, it also gives you the create date for these accounts, as well as their bios. So you can compare whether a few different accounts were created on the same date that are now either following or are being followed by that account. That is a great way to ask whether those followers are genuine. As well, this is the only service that will allow you to see what friends accounts have in common. So I've noticed when I looked at this account previously that they're following a congressman in the US. And what I wanted to know is, what are these two accounts both following? They follow, for example, a conservative television network. So I know that their politics might be aligned. They follow a few different people who also feed into that political point of view. And I might want to investigate those people. So comparing the followers on two accounts that you find interesting or suspicious is an invaluable service that Tweetbeaver can provide. And all of this is free, and it does allow you to, once again, download the data. So that is a really fantastic way to look at Twitter. And once you build out that asset list, here's a network that I was looking at, you're really able to see some of those commonalities. So this is what one of my spreadsheet looks like when I was investigating a network linked, a fake account network linked to the UAE government. Essentially, what I wanted to know is, when were the accounts created? And it looks like they were all created at very similar times. I also noticed that they have very similar bios. So as you can see here, there's writing, aspiring blogger, dreamer, blogger, news writer, moon chaser, news writer, blogger, adventurer. And a lot of them follow the same format. A lot of them use the same verbs. If you look at the account of Bruce Lopez, you see that it says correspondent, traveler, noun, linking verb, noun, verb, adjective. So we can see that whoever was creating this network was a little bit sloppy maybe and forgot to address this one account. So by downloading that friends list and comparing some of these assets, I was able to say, okay, it is highly likely that this network was related and investigate it further. Instagram is another way where we can get follower data. However, it is a paid service. So PicoDash is something that we can use to pay to download Instagram followers. However, you can also search within Instagram followers if you don't want to purchase this service. And here's what the spreadsheet that it generates look like. It gives you the account ID as well as the username and the full name. It tells you whether the account is verified, the followers of that account is verified. And it gives you the profile photo URL as well as an image. So using this, you can once again compare data on profiles, but I don't find it to be as useful as Tweetbeaver is. And the reason that Facebook and Instagram are a little bit trickier to work with is because Facebook as a company has limited some of the data that it provides to researchers and journalists. So to recap, a bulk analysis allows us to see patterns of behavior, particularly on Twitter. Looking at followers can help us build out network commonalities. We can compare information across social media networks to understand the goal of the account or the network. And although some social media networks are more accessible than others, we can use data from each network to cross-reference information and enhance our investigation. So that is it for week 1. You will meet with Craig in week 2 and then see me once again in week 3 for investigating images, geolocation, and synthetic media. Thank you so much for your attention so far. Please don't forget to drop your questions into the discussion forum, as well as respond to the discussion questions and do the additional readings that I have been provided. Thank you and see you soon.